My mom said, and no one wants you here this Christmas. After everything I paid for, after everything I fixed for them. I said, fine. Then I added one sentence. I'm done protecting you. Her smile vanished. But before I begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know. Now let's dive into today's story. The kitchen wasn't warm, even with the oven on. Rowan noticed it first when she stepped through the side door, the one that opened directly from the driveway into the cramped space where her mother spent most of her waking hours. The air should have been thick with heat, comforting and close, but instead it felt hollow. The oven door was cracked open, an old trick to supplement the failing furnace, but the warmth died somewhere between the appliance and the threshold where Rowan stood, still holding her keys. The smell hit her next. Reheated coffee, burnt at the edges of the pot, mingling with the chemical sweetness of cinnamon rolls from a plastic container. Not fresh, not homemade, just the kind you grabbed at the grocery store when you wanted the appearance of effort without the actual work. Rowan set her purse on the counter. The laminate was peeling at the corner near the sink, a problem she'd noticed 6 months ago and mentioned twice. Nothing had been done about it. Her mother stood by the opposite counter, back to the door, folding a dish towel. Not drying it, not putting it away, just folding it over and over, the blue and white checked fabric creasing into smaller and smaller rectangles. Mom, Rowan said. Darlene Voss didn't turn around. She was 59, small-framed, with hair she dyed an unnatural shade of auburn that never quite looked right against her pale complexion. She wore a cardigan Rowan had bought her 2 Christmases ago, the cuffs now stretched and pilled. I paid for the groceries, Rowan added. Her voice was flat, factual. She didn't expect gratitude, but she expected acknowledgement. Darlene's shoulders stiffened. She set the towel down, aligned it with the edge of the counter, and finally turned. No one wants you here this Christmas. The words came out calm, not angry, not rushed. Just firm, like she'd rehearsed them, maybe in the shower or while folding laundry or during one of the long hours she spent alone in this house. Rowan stared at her mother. The fluorescent light above the sink buzzed faintly, a sound she'd grown so accustomed to she barely noticed it anymore. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a truck rumbled past on the icy road, chains clanking against asphalt. After everything I paid for, Rowan asked. She didn't raise her voice. She never did. Volume didn't make people listen. It just gave them an excuse to call you hysterical. Darlene's mouth tightened. You always bring money into it. Because it's always there, Rowan said. She took a step closer, her boots leaving faint prints on the worn linoleum. The house taxes, the water heater repair last March, Brenna's car insurance when she couldn't make the payment, Brenna's struggling. Brenna's 28. She's your sister. And you're my mother, Rowan said. But I don't see you showing up when I need something. Darlene's face shifted. Not quite anger. Not quite hurt. Something in between, something practiced, something Rowan had seen 1,000 times before. You make things uncomfortable, Darlene said finally. She picked up the towel again, but didn't fold it this time. Just held it, wringing it between her hands. Rowan nodded once. Fine. She turned toward the door, keys already in hand, when the words left her mouth before she could stop them. I'm done protecting you. The kitchen went silent. Even the buzzing light seemed to dim. Darlene's hands stilled on the towel. Her face went pale, then flushed, then pale again, like someone had pulled a plug and drained all the blood from her cheeks. What does that mean? Darlene's voice cracked. Rowan didn't answer. She opened the door and stepped into the cold, letting it slam behind her. Rowan Voss was 37 years old, unmarried, childless, and, according to her family, too serious. She lived alone in a small cabin 15 minutes outside town, the kind of place that looked charming in summer and claustrophobic in winter. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, A wood stove she had to feed every morning to keep the pipes from freezing. She worked as an accountant for a property management company in Coeur d'Alene, a 40-minute drive each way. The work was steady, boring, reliable. She balanced budgets, filed taxes, caught discrepancies that no one else seemed to notice or care about. She was good at finding problems. She was better at fixing them quietly. That skill had defined the last 16 years of her life. Her father, Raymond Voss, had died when Rowan was 21. Heart attack. Sudden. The kind of death that left no time for goodbyes or hospital vigils or deathbed reconciliations. He'd been 53. He'd worked construction most of his life, the kind of hard labor that wore a man down from the inside out. He'd smoked 2 packs a day and drank beer like water and never once went to the doctor because he didn't trust them. When he died, Rowan was in her senior year of college, 2 hours away in Spokane. She'd been studying for finals when her mother called, voice shaking, barely coherent. "He's gone," Darlene had said. "He's just gone." Rowan drove home that night. She didn't cry. She didn't panic. She just drove, hand steady on the wheel, mind already calculating what needed to be done. The funeral was expensive. Her mother had no savings. Rowan paid for it. Then came the bills. Credit cards she didn't know existed. Medical debt from emergency room visits Raymond had never mentioned. A second mortgage on the house, taken out 3 years earlier to cover Brenna's college tuition, which Brenna had dropped out of after 2 semesters. Her mother inherited the debt. And the panic. Rowan stayed. She'd planned to move to Seattle after graduation. She'd had a job offer, an apartment lined up, a whole life waiting for her somewhere else. She turned it down. No one asked her to stay. No one thanked her for it. It just happened, the way water finds the lowest point and settles there. She took a job locally. She moved into a cheap apartment. She started paying bills. At first, it was just the big things. The mortgage, the property taxes, the car payment when Darlene's old sedan finally died. Then it was the smaller things. Overdraft fees, late charges, utilities that got shut off because Darlene forgot to pay them or couldn't, or chose not to because something else seemed more urgent. Rowan didn't do it because her mother asked. She did it because chaos scared her more than resentment. Chaos was loud and unpredictable and exhausting. It meant phone calls from creditors, threats of foreclosure, relatives whispering behind closed doors about how Darlene couldn't manage. Rowan hated chaos, so she fixed it, quietly, efficiently, without drama. She paid overdue bills and smoothed over lies and made excuses to relatives who asked too many questions. When Darlene borrowed money from her sister and didn't pay it back, Rowan stepped in and covered it. When Darlene overdrew her checking account 3 months in a row, Rowan opened a joint account and started monitoring it. When Darlene lied about where the money went, always something vague, always something urgent, Rowan stopped asking questions and just kept fixing. It became a pattern, a rhythm, a role she didn't remember auditioning for but somehow got cast in anyway. And the worst part, no one seemed to notice. Not her mother, not Brenna, not the relatives who showed up at holidays and complimented Darlene on how well she was holding up after Raymond's death. Rowan was invisible, a ghost in the background, holding everything together while everyone else lived their lives. Until tonight, until those words in the kitchen. No one wants you here this Christmas. Rowan sat in her truck in the driveway, engine running, heat blasting. Her hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. She didn't cry. She just sat there, staring at the house through the windshield. The porch light was on. The windows glowed yellow. Smoke curled from the chimney, thin and lazy. From the outside it looked warm, safe, like home. But Rowan knew better. She put the truck in reverse and drove away. Her phone rang that night. Rowan was sitting on her couch, staring at the wood stove, watching the flames dance behind the glass door. She'd made tea she hadn't drunk and turned on the television she wasn't watching. The phone buzzed on the cushion beside her. Brenna. Rowan let it ring twice before answering. What did you do to Mom? Brenna demanded. No hello. No how are you. Just accusation. Sharp and immediate. Rowan closed her eyes. I didn't do anything. She's crying. She won't tell me why. She just keeps saying you yelled at her. I didn't yell. Then what did you do? I stopped. Silence on the other end. Not the thoughtful kind. The dangerous kind. Stopped what? Brenna's voice dropped, low and tight. Everything, Rowan said. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Brenna exhaled, loud and sharp. You know how she gets. Yes, Rowan said. I do. Then why are you making it worse? Rowan opened her eyes. The fire was dying down, the flames smaller now, barely licking at the logs. I didn't make anything, she said. I just stopped fixing it. That's the same thing. No, Rowan said quietly. It's not. Brenna made a sound, half laugh, half scoff. You always make things harder. Do I? Rowan asked. Her voice stayed calm, even. Or do I just stop making them easier? What the hell does that mean? It means I'm tired, Rowan said. And I'm done. Done with what? With this conversation. Rowan ended the call. She set the phone down on the couch, screen facing down, and stared at the fire until it went out completely. She didn't announce anything. No phone calls. No emails. No formal declarations. She just stopped. No emergency transfers when Darlene called in a panic about the electric bill. No last-minute fixes when the check to the plumber bounced. No explanations to relatives when they asked why Darlene seemed so stressed. Rowan went to work. She came home. She fed the stove and made dinner and read books she'd been meaning to finish for years. She didn't ignore her phone. She just didn't answer it. Within 2 weeks, Darlene started calling daily. Rowan watched the calls come in, watched her mother's name flash across the screen, watched the voicemails pile up, little red numbers growing bigger. She didn't listen to them. This wasn't revenge. It was exhaustion. Rowan had spent 16 years holding up a structure she hadn't built, repairing cracks she hadn't caused, shouldering weight that wasn't hers to carry. And she was tired, not angry, not bitter, just tired. The cabin looked different in late November. The trees were bare, skeletal against the gray sky. Snow hadn't fallen yet, but the ground was hard and frozen, the grass brittle under Rowan's boots when she walked from her truck to the front door. She'd just gotten home from work. It was 4:30, already dark, the kind of early winter darkness that made everything feel later than it was. She was reaching for her keys when she heard the car. Tires on gravel. An engine she recognized. Rowan turned. Her mother's sedan pulled into the driveway, crooked and too fast, stopping just short of Rowan's truck. Darlene got out, slamming the door behind her. She was wearing a coat that didn't fit right, too big in the shoulders, too short at the wrists. Her face was flushed, red from cold or anger or both. We need to talk, Darlene said. Rowan didn't move. About what? You know what. Say it anyway. Darlene's jaw tightened. She took a step forward, boots crunching on the frozen ground. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself, Rowan said. From what? From you. The words hung in the air, visible almost like breath in the cold. Darlene flinched. I'm your mother. I know. I raised you. You did, Rowan said. And then I raised the household. Darlene's face went white. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. Rowan unlocked her door. You should go. I'm not done. Yes, you are. Rowan stepped inside and closed the door. She didn't lock it. She just stood there, back pressed against the wood, listening. Outside, her mother didn't move. Rowan could hear her breathing, ragged and uneven, could almost feel the heat of her anger through the door. Then, finally, footsteps. The car door opening. The engine starting. Rowan waited until the sound faded completely before she moved. The confrontation should have felt dramatic, climactic, like something out of a movie where the music swells and the camera lingers on the protagonist's face. It didn't. It felt small, ordinary, like every other time Rowan had set a boundary and watched someone trample over it. Except this time she didn't move. She made tea. She lit the stove. She sat on her couch and opened a book and read the same page 3 times before giving up. Her hands shook. Not from fear. From something else. Something she didn't have a name for. Relief, maybe. Or grief. Or both. What Darlene didn't know, what no one knew, was that most of the money she depended on wasn't hers anymore. It hadn't been for years. Rowan had done it quietly, methodically, the way she did everything. It started 7 years ago, after a particularly bad month when Darlene had overdrafted her account by $800 and then lied about why. Rowan had covered it like always, but something had shifted. She'd realized, sitting at her kitchen table with a stack of bank statements, that this would never end. Her mother would never change, would never save, would never plan ahead or think past the next crisis or take responsibility for the mess she'd made. And Rowan would keep fixing it, keep covering it, keep bleeding herself, try to keep everyone else afloat. Unless she stopped. But stopping wasn't enough. Not really. Because if Rowan just walked away, Darlene would lose the house, would lose everything. And then the family would turn on Rowan, call her cruel, call her selfish, call her the villain in a story where she'd only ever tried to help. So Rowan found another way. She started transferring accounts into her own name. The mortgage first, refinanced under her credit score. Then the utilities, the property taxes, the insurance. She didn't tell her mother. She just did it. Signed the papers, made the calls, rerouted the payments. On paper, Darlene still lived in her house. But the house wasn't hers. Not anymore. It was Rowan's. And when Rowan stopped paying, there was nothing left to fall back on. No savings. No credit. No safety net Darlene had carefully avoided building for 2 decades. Just reality catching up. The phone calls started in December. Not from Darlene. From everyone else. Aunt Linda first. Darlene's older sister, the one who'd loaned her $2,000 5 years ago and never got it back. "Rowan, honey," Linda said, voice sweet and concerned. "Your mother called me. She says she's struggling." Rowan was at work, sitting in her office with the door closed, staring at a spreadsheet that needed her attention. "She is," Rowan said. "Can you help her?" "No." Silence. Then, carefully, "She's your mother." "I know." "She raised you." "She did," Rowan said. "And I've been paying her back for 16 years. "That's not." Linda stopped. Started again. "Family takes care of each other." "Then why are you calling me?" Rowan asked. "Why aren't you helping her?" More silence. "I'm not in a position to." "Neither am I," Rowan said. "Not anymore." She ended the call. The next day it was Uncle Paul, Darlene's younger brother, the one who showed up at Christmas drunk and left before dessert. "You're being cold," he said. Rowan didn't argue. She just hung up. Then came the cousins, the neighbors, the woman from church who'd known Darlene for 30 years and had opinions about everything. They all said the same things. "She's struggling. She needs help. You're being selfish." No one asked how long Rowan had been holding it together. No one asked what it had cost her. No one asked if maybe, just maybe, Darlene should have been more careful, more responsible, more honest. They just blamed Rowan. Because it was easier. Brenna stopped speaking to her completely. Not in a dramatic way. No big fight. No final conversation. She just stopped answering texts. Stopped returning calls. Blocked Rowan on social media. Rowan found out from a mutual friend, someone she hadn't spoken to in years, who messaged her out of nowhere with a screenshot. Brenna had posted something vague. Something about family loyalty and people who abandon you when you need them most. Rowan stared at the screenshot for a long time. Then she deleted the message and went back to work. If Brenna wanted to believe that Rowan was the villain, fine. Rowan was done trying to change people's minds. Christmas Eve arrived cold and clear. Rowan woke early, fed the stove, made coffee. She stood at her kitchen window, watching the sun rise over the lake, the water dark and still, the trees casting long blue shadows across the snow that had finally fallen 2 days earlier. Her phone was silent. No calls, no texts, no last-minute invitations. She was alone. Not lonely, just alone. There was a difference. Rowan spent the day the way she wanted to. She made soup from scratch, the kind that took hours and filled the cabin with the smell of garlic and thyme and slow-cooked vegetables. She read a book by the fire. She took a walk down to the lake, boots crunching through fresh snow, breath visible in the cold air. She didn't think about her mother, didn't think about Brenna or the relatives or the voicemails still sitting unheard on her phone. She just existed, quietly, peacefully. When night fell, she lit candles and turned on the Christmas lights she'd strung around the window. Not for anyone else, just for herself. She ate soup at her small table alone, and it was the best meal she'd had in years. Her mother left a voicemail that night. Rowan saw it pop up around 9, just as she was getting ready for bed. She stared at the notification for a long time. Then she pressed play. Darlene's voice was quiet, subdued. Not angry, not desperate, just sad. "I don't know why you're doing this," she said. "I don't understand. I thought we were family. I thought that meant something." A pause, breathing, the faint sound of a television in the background. "Merry Christmas, Rowan." The voicemail ended. Rowan deleted it without listening again. She climbed into bed, pulled the blankets up, and stared at the ceiling. She didn't feel guilty. She didn't feel triumphant. She just felt done. January came in bitter and hard. The lake froze solid. The roads turned to ice. Rowan's commute stretched from 40 minutes to an hour, her truck sliding and skidding through snowdrifts that the plows couldn't keep up with. She didn't mind. The drive gave her time to think, time to breathe, time to exist in the space between who she'd been and who she was becoming. Work was the same. Budget reports, tax filings, emails from tenants complaining about broken heaters and leaking roofs. Rowan handled it all with the same calm efficiency she always had. But something was different. She didn't take work home with her anymore, didn't check her email at night, didn't lie awake worrying about problems that weren't hers to solve. She went home. She fed the stove. She made dinner. She read. She existed. And it felt strange, foreign, like wearing shoes that didn't quite fit, but also right. Her mother called on a Tuesday. Not a voicemail this time. An actual call at 6 in the evening, just as Rowan was finishing dinner. Rowan stared at the screen. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello, Rowan." Darlene's voice was careful, measured. "Can we talk?" "We are talking. In person. Please." Rowan set down her fork. "Why?" "Because I need to say something." "Say it now." "It's not." Darlene stopped. "Breathe. I need help. Just this once. It's temporary." There it was. The real reason for the call. Not reconciliation. Not apology. Just need. Rowan leaned back in her chair. "How much?" $1,500. Maybe 2,000. The property taxes are due, and I don't. "I paid the property taxes," Rowan said. Silence. "What?" "I paid them," Rowan repeated. "In November, like I do every year." More silence. Longer this time. "I don't understand," Darlene said finally. "The house is in my name," Rowan said. Her voice stayed calm, flat. "Has been for 7 years. The mortgage, the taxes, the insurance. All of it. You live there because I let you, not because you own it." She could hear her mother breathing. Fast, shallow breaths, like someone trying not to panic. "Why would you?" "Because you would have lost it otherwise," Rowan said. "Because you can't manage money. Because I got tired of cleaning up your messes. You had no right. I had every right, Rowan interrupted. I've been paying for it. I've been paying for everything. And now I'm done. You can't just. I can, Rowan said. And I did. Darlene started crying. Soft at first, then louder, the sound messy and raw. Rowan listened. She didn't apologize, didn't comfort, didn't offer solutions. She just listened. When the crying finally slowed, Darlene spoke again, voice thick and broken. What do you want from me? Nothing, Rowan said. I don't want anything from you. Then why are you doing this? Because I'm protecting myself, Rowan said. Because I matter too. You're being cruel. No, Rowan said quietly. I'm being honest. She ended the call, set the phone down, and finished her dinner. The next morning, Rowan called a lawyer. Not for anything dramatic, just to make things official. She had the house retitled, had the bills and accounts double-checked, made sure everything was airtight, documented, legal. Her mother could stay in the house. Rowan wasn't cruel, but she wasn't responsible anymore. If Darlene wanted heat, she'd pay the utility bill. If she wanted water, she'd manage her own account. If she wanted to keep living there, she'd figure it out. Rowan wasn't going to fix it for her. Not anymore. Brenna showed up unannounced 3 days later. Rowan was outside, splitting firewood when she heard the car. She didn't look up, just swung the axe, felt it bite into the log, felt the wood split clean and satisfying. We need to talk, Brenna said. Rowan set another log on the stump. About what? About Mom. What about her? You're destroying her. Rowan swung the axe. The log split. She tossed the pieces onto the pile and grabbed another. She's destroying herself, Rowan said. She's been doing it for 20 years. I just stopped enabling it. That's not. Brenna stepped closer. She was wearing a coat too thin for the weather, jeans wet from the snow. She can't afford to live without your help. Then maybe she should have thought about that before she told me I wasn't wanted at Christmas, Rowan said. She didn't mean. Yes, she did. Rowan stopped chopping, turned to face her sister. She meant every word. And so did you. Brenna blinked. I never said. You didn't have to, Rowan said. You made your choice. You picked her. That's fine. But don't come here and tell me I'm the problem. I'm not. You are, Rowan said. You're standing in my driveway in the middle of winter, telling me I need to go back to fixing everything, paying for everything, sacrificing everything, because it's easier for you if I do. Brenna's face flushed. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Rowan said, but I'm done pretending it is. She picked up the axe and went back to work. Brenna stood there for a long moment, shivering, furious, helpless. Then she turned and left. The calls stopped after that. Not all at once, but gradually, slowly. The relatives gave up. Brenna went silent. Even Darlene stopped trying. Rowan's phone stayed quiet, and for the first time in 16 years, she didn't feel guilty about it. Spring came late that year. The snow melted in March, leaving the ground muddy and raw. The lake thawed, the ice breaking apart in jagged sheets that drifted toward the shore. Rowan spent her weekends cleaning up the cabin, repairing the deck, planting a small garden behind the house. She bought seeds at the hardware store and knelt in the dirt, hands covered in soil, planting tomatoes and beans and herbs she'd never had time to grow before. It felt good, simple, honest. She wasn't fixing anyone's problems. She was just building her own life. In April, she got a letter. It came in the mail, handwritten, addressed in Darlene's careful script. Rowan stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No apology, no plea for help, just a few short lines. I don't understand what I did wrong. I don't understand why you hate me. I hope someday you can forgive me. Mom. Rowan read it twice. Then she folded it, put it back in the envelope, and filed it away in a drawer. She didn't respond. There was nothing to say. June brought tourists. The lake filled with boats and swimmers and families on vacation. Rowan avoided the crowds, kept to herself, spent her evenings on the deck with a book and a glass of wine. She saw Brenna once from a distance at the grocery store. Brenna saw her too. They locked eyes across the produce section. Neither of them waved. Rowan paid for her groceries and left. By July, the garden was thriving. Tomatoes heavy on the vine, beans climbing the trellis, herbs bursting from their pots, fragrant and wild. Rowan harvested them, carefully, methodically. She made salads and sauces and froze what she could eat. She gave some to her neighbors, the older couple who lived a quarter-mile down the road. They thanked her, surprised and delighted. No one in her family had ever thanked her. The difference was striking. August came hot and dry. The lake level dropped. The tourists thinned out. Rowan's routine stayed the same. Work, home, garden, books, peace. She didn't miss the chaos. She didn't miss the phone calls or the crises or the constant, exhausting need to fix everything. She didn't miss being needed. She liked being wanted. There was a difference. In September, she ran into Aunt Linda at the post office. Linda looked older, grayer. She smiled when she saw Rowan, but it didn't reach her eyes. "How are you?" Linda asked. "Good," Rowan said. "You?" "Fine, fine." Linda hesitated. "Your mother's doing better." Rowan nodded. "Good. She got a job. Part-time, but it's something." "That's good," Rowan said again. Linda studied her. "She misses you." Rowan didn't respond. "We all do," Linda added. "Do you?" Rowan asked. "Or do you just miss what I did for everyone?" Linda's smile faded. Rowan picked up her mail and left. October brought the first frost. The garden died back. The leaves turned gold and red and fell in drifts across the yard. Rowan raked them into piles and burned them in the fire pit behind the cabin. She sat beside the fire, wrapped in a blanket, watching the smoke curl into the sky. She thought about her mother, about Brenna, about all the years she'd spent holding everything together. She didn't regret stopping, but she mourned what could have been. If they'd been different, if she'd been different, if love hadn't been conditional, transactional, exhausting, but it was, and she'd survived it. November came cold and gray. The lake turned steel blue. The trees stood bare. Snow threatened but didn't fall. Rowan's phone rang one evening. Unknown number. She answered anyway. "Rowan." A woman's voice, uncertain. "Yes." "This is Kelly, from the property management office. I know this is random, but we have an opening. Senior position. More pay, better hours. I thought of you." Rowan blinked. "Why?" "Because you're good at what you do," Kelly said simply. "And because you deserve better than what you have." Rowan smiled. It felt strange, foreign, but also right. "Send me the details," she said. She took the job. Started in December, just before Christmas. The office was bigger, brighter. The work was challenging, but manageable. The pay was enough to stop worrying about money for the first time in her life. Rowan celebrated by buying herself a new coat. A good one, the kind that fit right and kept out the cold. She wore it on Christmas Eve, walking down to the lake, watching the sun set over the frozen water. She thought about last Christmas, about the kitchen, about her mother's words. "No one wants you here." They didn't hurt anymore, because Rowan had built a life where she wanted herself. And that was enough. Rowan Voss still lived near the lake. The cabin was the same. Small, sturdy hers. She still saw family sometimes. At the grocery store, at the gas station, once at a distance, at a funeral for a relative she barely knew. They didn't speak. That was fine. The difference now wasn't geography. It wasn't anger or bitterness or revenge. The difference was this. Rowan didn't fix what she didn't break. She didn't pay to be tolerated. She didn't protect people who hurt her and called it love. That Christmas, the one where her mother told her she wasn't wanted, didn't end her family. It ended her role in their dysfunction. And that was the most honest gift she'd ever given herself. The cabin looked different now. Not physically, but in the way it felt. It wasn't a refuge anymore. It wasn't a place she ran to when everything else fell apart. It was just home. Rowan had new routines, new friends, a neighbor who brought her fresh eggs from her chickens, a co-worker who invited her to book club. She said yes to things now. Small things. Dinners, movies, hikes in the summer. She'd forgotten what it felt like to be included without conditions. She'd forgotten what it felt like to matter. In the spring, 2 years after that Christmas, Rowan got another letter. This one wasn't from her mother. It was from Brenna. Rowan almost threw it away without opening it, but something stopped her. She sat on her deck, coffee cooling beside her, and opened the envelope. The letter was short. Rowan, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't think I'd forgive me either. But I need you to know I'm sorry. For everything. For not seeing it. For not helping. For blaming you. Mom told me what you did. About the house. About the bills. About all of it. I didn't know. I should have. But I didn't. I'm not asking you to come back. I just wanted you to know that I get it now. I hope you're okay. Brenna. Rowan read it 3 times. Then she folded it, put it back in the envelope, and set it on the table. She didn't respond. Not because she was angry, but because there was nothing to say. Some things couldn't be fixed with words. Some things just had to be left alone. The lake was calm that morning. The water reflected the sky, blue and endless. Rowan sat on her deck, watching the light change, watching the world wake up. She thought about her father. About the debts he'd left behind, about the chaos that followed. She thought about her mother, about the choices she'd made, about the consequences she'd finally faced. She thought about herself, about the girl she'd been at 21, standing at a crossroads, choosing to stay. She didn't regret it, but she was glad she'd finally chosen to leave. Not physically, but emotionally, spiritually. She'd stopped carrying weight that wasn't hers, and in doing so, she'd found herself. Rowan Voss was 39 now, still unmarried, still childless, still, according to some, too serious, but she didn't care what people thought anymore. She had a job she liked, a home she loved, a life she'd built from scratch. She had boundaries. She had peace. She had herself, and that was more than enough. That Christmas, Rowan spent the day alone again, but this time it was by choice. She made dinner. She read by the fire. She walked down to the lake as the sun set, boots crunching through fresh snow. She thought about the past, about the pain, about the cost, but mostly she thought about the future, about all the years ahead, about all the possibilities, about all the ways she could live now that she wasn't living for everyone else. It felt vast, intimidating, beautiful. She smiled and walked back home.